So in this video, I asked Reddit who their favorite WeedTuber was, and some of the answers were actually surprising. But first, if you're new around here, give me a sub. So we're over here on r/trees, which is probably the biggest Canna subreddit on all of Reddit. It has over 2.1 million people that are on this subreddit, so it's most likely the biggest. I know there's another one that's close to it, but I'm pretty sure this is the biggest subreddit surrounding this community. And I asked them, who is your favorite VTuber, past or present? And obviously, by the comments you guys can see right now, there are going to be some that are really obvious and understandable, but there are some of them that are quite surprising what people said. So first up, we have Custom Grow 420, and obviously he's an OG. You know, people outside the community know who he is because he's just a legend. Honestly, he has so many memes surrounding him. He is just a OG VTuber. And you know, obviously, I'm not going to sit here and say I was watching him in his prime, or I like really enjoy his content. His content's more of a show up on my YouTube shorts feed, or you know, you see that random 2-minute video that you want to click on at like 3 in the morning. He makes those type of videos. Now I know he has some kind of like, you know, some blogs, but a lot of his videos are just him showing off how much he can consume, which is, it's cool to watch, you know, for like the one time. But I'm not the biggest fan of Custom Grow, but I respect him because he's an OG, and he kind of helped kickstart this community. So next is Canucks Grow, and you know, I have to say he's probably one of my favorite growing, you know, VTubers on the platform. He just edits and structures his videos in a way that makes it super entertaining to watch. I don't know what it is. Like I like a lot of his, like, he obviously gives a lot of information and a lot of education in his content, but I honestly just like watching his content because how he edits and how he structures his videos. It's like, you know, it's like watching another YouTuber, but instead of, you know, them doing vlogs, he's doing growing stuff. So this is another one that's super understandable. And then we have someone saying Raw OG, and that's another one where he just makes such good videos, and the way he edits and structures them, it's entertaining to watch. A lot of his videos are, you know, outdoorsy type of stuff. That's not a lot of his earlier content, but the stuff that really blew him up was the whole, you know, camping videos, which I really like. And then, like, you know, he's doing some different stuff now, but he still does the camping videos, and I really like him. And then we have Bentley Blaze, and this one is kind of surprising. I mean, obviously, I know who Bentley Blaze is. I watch some of his content, and you know, he's not the biggest VTuber, but he does make, you know, those sit down Eric Con type of videos where you can just kind of put it on, chill, you know, consume, you know, just hang out with him really. So like, this is understandable, but also kind of surprising. And then you have some of the stick figure VTubers, the animation VTubers, and it's actually really surprising. I wasn't expecting them to be mentioned on this kind of subreddit. Chains for Real and I forget how to say his name. I think it's Ninye. I think it's how you pronounce it. Obviously, I've seen their content. Both of them, I think, have kind of switched up their content style because of YouTube's age restriction and monetization. But I know when I was talking about all the stick figure VTubers, the animation VTubers, there was a bunch of people I wasn't expecting to really like these guys. You know, I understand it a little bit. Like, I like watching some animation VTubers, but it's not really my biggest, you know, my biggest itch when it comes to the style of content. I like more of the sit down, you know, like the aircon type of videos where it's like just sit down, you know, talk in front of the camera, you can chill out. I also really like watching education videos surrounding the topic. So, you know, I can understand, but this was actually quite surprising to see. And then we have two more OGs, Silent Hippie and Strange Central, which, you know, those are obvious. They're pioneers in this scene. They, you know, back in 2017, 2018, 2019, were doing their thing, honestly. And before that too, you know, Sasha and Strange Central were making content from like 2014 and up. So like, it's understandable. They really carried the community back in the day. And then you have people, agreeing with them. Strange Central, that took me back. I remember that. They're just like, a lot of people grew up on them. Like a lot of the people that are now like in their late 20s, they grew up watching Strange Central and Silent Hippie. So yeah, this is completely understandable. Strange Show. He's more of a newer WeedTuber, and I honestly like his content a lot. He's one of the WeedTubers I actually watch on a regular basis because he does educational videos for everything. When there's like, news just in the general community, or he's making his growing videos, or he's talking about like, you know, educational stuff. I actually really like his content, and he's one of the VTubers I watch on the regular. And then we have two that are very, they're just, you expect it to be said. Dopus Yola and Cupins. Dopus Yola obviously being the biggest VTuber ever. He has such high quality content, and then you have his podcast where he's expanding, going outside the community, interviewing people that are just insane to see. Honestly, he's had like almost everyone on his podcast. He's honestly getting up there with Joe Rogan with the amount of people he's had on his podcast. And then Cupins, he's been making content for the past 5 or 6 years, and he's just so consistent that you can always expect to have a new Cupin video every week. And I don't watch him too much no more, but when I was like super heavy into watching VTubers, he was one of them, because he would make 7-8 minute videos and he would do them every day. And it was just fire to watch. Like I could always expect a Cupin videos to be out when I got home. And then you have Marijuana Man, which I actually didn't know who he was. I had to actually go in like YouTube and find him and look up who he was. And he seems like he has good content. I just didn't know who he was, to be honest with you. And then we have Mr. Connects again, which, like I said, his content is so good, and this guy like says it perfectly. His voice feels like a chill cartoon vibes, gorgeous filmography, shots of beautiful plants, really explains a lot of his growing style too. Yeah, I can't lie. When I first started growing, like it was like last summer, I went with his whole style. I couldn't get one of his oh, the soil he uses, because it's only in Canada, but I found a substitute for it. And besides that, like I actually just used his style and his method of growing, and had some good plants. So like I said, he makes good videos, has good editing. He's a chill dude. He explains a lot. He's educational, understandable. Hash Bean. Hash Bean is a OOG, like honestly one of the first VTubers to ever exist on YouTube, to be honest. He has videos that are 17 years old, 18 years old, and it's just insane. It really is. He doesn't do a lot of content now from what I know, but he was a real pioneer when it comes to making Canada content on YouTube. Sneaky Pete, off the name, I like didn't know who he was, but when I looked him up on YouTube, I was subbed to him and I knew who he was. He's like he's really big into vaporizers and the whole electronic, dabs and that kind of stuff. And he makes really good videos. If you don't know who he is, I would recommend checking him out, because he does make really good videos. Tobacco, off the name, once again, I didn't know who he was, but when I looked him up, once again, I was subbed to him, and after looking at his, I knew who he was. Like he makes like slideshow type videos where he talks about the plant a lot. Like if you ever have a question about the plant, Tobacco has probably talked about it once or twice. Like he has so many videos that range back from years ago talking about the plant, and he's really educational. Like he knows what he's talking about with the plant. Dr. Bruce Bugbee, I didn't know who he was when I first heard the name. I had to look him up, and I think I've seen him once or twice, but he doesn't actually have a YouTube channel of his own, or at least he doesn't know more. But he seems like a cool guy. He actually seems like he's like a celebrity in the growing community, not as like a YouTuber, but as just a really smart person when it comes to understanding the plant and giving out information. So That's pretty cool to see. Dill Sport 20. I wasn't actually expecting to see him. He's actually one of the few European WeedTubers I actually know of and have watched before. He makes cool content. He goes around Europe, you know, consuming. So if you want to see that, give him a sub, because you know he's very underrated, to be honest with you. Chrissy Hairless, she's kind of a OG. She was like really big when WeedTube, the actual platform WeedTube, was a thing, and then you know she got more of a big fan base over on YouTube after the whole WeedTube thing went down. You know, it's not really my style of content, but I can completely understand why people like watching her, because she seems like she, you know, has highly edited videos. She's a, you know, she appeals to the female audience of, you know, the whole WeedTube space. She just seems like she's a good content creator, so, you know, good for her. And then once again, we have Brawl OG. Like I said, Brawl OG is really fun to watch. He has all kinds of style of videos. He has obviously the camping, which I said. He does, like, you know, more sit down type of videos too. He has his older videos, which are more like custom grow videos where he's just consuming a lot, which, you know, not my cup of tea when it comes to style content, but I can understand why people like watching it. But his newer stuff, like his whole camping stuff, his whole sit down in front of a camera, talk to people, I really like that style of content. Also, you know, he has the whole evil main stuff, which I actually like his music a lot. So before I end this video, let me know down in the comments if you want to see this style of, you know, video again. And, you know, I can go ask Twitter, I can go ask Instagram, I can ask YouTube. You know, just let me know down in the comments if you want to see this style of content again. And until next time, peace.
She said I could have it. 2016, little bitch, I'm a savage. Johnny Depp's to a bitch, make all the baggage. Then I feel like I'm a fucking bandit. RIP, just walk got perks in the cabinet. Sold them off on my